this video you will learn how to get started with Appwrite, set up your own server and connect it to your Ionic React application. What's up Simonics and welcome back to a new big tutorial. I think I said this like every time in the last weeks, but today is once again gonna be a really huge tutorial in which we look at Appwrite. Now, I've looked at different cloud solutions for backends in the past like Firebase and Supabase, and Appwrite kind of falls into that category, but is definitely different. And we're gonna talk about all the differences and how we can set up our Appwrite backend in today's video. Today's video is also sponsored by Appwrite. So thank you Appwrite for giving me the chance to check it out. Appwrite is the secure open source platform for your backend. You don't need to write a server, you don't need to spend weeks or days on creating all the boilerplate code. No, you can just host Appwrite pretty much everywhere you want. You're gonna see it in the video. It's one Docker command to spin up a full Appwrite server, including a database, including authentication, user management, storage, and even cloud functions. So go check it out, appwrite.io, and give it a try. It's really super easy to get started. Now in today's application, we will go through all the basics of setting up Appwrite and then connecting it to our Ionic React application. We're gonna integrate user registration and email links, magic links, verification for that. We're gonna protect our inside pages. We're gonna do all the CRUD functionality on the database to read nodes and write them and update them, use the permissions, and finally also implement real-time data loading and also file upload. So we cover pretty much everything that you need to know about Appwrite. You could certainly also use something else like Flutter or Angular or anything that you want, but today we're focusing on Ionic React with Appwrite. If you want to follow along the video, link to the written tutorial and also the GitHub repository right below the video, so you could or probably check this out before we dive into the actual coding. Let's waste no more time and dive right into our Appwrite application. Alright, let's begin our project by first of all setting up the Appwrite backend. So go to appwrite.io and click get started, which immediately tells you that, this is interesting, you should probably use Docker for this. So I never used Docker to install anything, and I never really used Docker. Yeah, I'm sorry, but that's just how life is. But it's actually pretty easy to do this. I was also a bit scared up front, but it's really super easy. It's easier than I expected. So what you need to install Appwrite is first of all the Docker CLI. So install this, and once you got this, you got this cool little client, or at least I on the Mac got this client here after running Docker. And now I can just grab this snippet here for Unix. I'm going to my terminal, I'm putting this in. It will ask a few questions. I'm just gonna hit enter for all of them to keep them at local settings. Or at like the default settings, and then it says Appwrite installed successfully. And I can also check out my Docker application. I see that Appwrite, wow, installed quite a bunch of things. So this is immediately points to the benefit of Docker and Appwrite. So we got a MariaDB, InfluxDB, Redis. We got so many things installed here: schedule, worker mails, webhooks. It's just amazing that you don't have to configure this your own. You can just, with one command that I grabbed, it installed all of this into my Docker instance. This really blew my mind when I saw it the first time. However, if you don't like Docker, there are still other ways. There are one-click setups, which are pretty cool. I actually gave this a try as well. Did I take it down from the marketplace? I definitely used the DigitalOcean one-click setup. There's also a Git pod one-click setup. You can also do it manually, but we're gonna get into this, how we can use it more once we dive deeper into this. For now, this should be installed, and since we use the default settings, it should be right at localhost. And yes, here we are. This is our Appwrite server right now. So I'm gonna just give myself, let's just call myself admin. So this is creating your root account. You probably have seen this if you installed WordPress before. I definitely sign up. I don't need a newsletter right now. So let's hit this, and then we are inside our Appwrite server. I didn't cut anything from running this command to diving into our project here. Probably it was a bit faster because Docker already had the volumes or images, and in your case, it might download them first, but otherwise there was no magic and we got this. So how does it work now? Now, first of all, we need to create a project because this is completely blank. We only see our admin theme. We can go dark mode, if you want to. I'm gonna go ahead and click create project. Doesn't really matter too much what you want to call this. I'm just gonna call this my cool project and use an auto-generated ID. But this points into one thing, that we can actually have multiple projects in our Appwrite server, which is really, really cool. And once we dive deeper, we can also have multiple databases in one project. And this just, we can just configure all of this here in the UI. Speaking of databases, this is what we need as well. So we're now inside our cool project. We got home, database, we got storage for file upload, we got authentication for users, and we got cloud functions. We also got access to webhooks and API keys. However, the first thing we're gonna do is actually add a platform to our project. And I'm gonna select the web app because with Ionic, we're pretty much building a website. Although it is a native application, once we run it with Capacitor, still you always or usually use web, just like if you're using a Firebase or anything else, it's always web app. But this also means you could use it for Flutter app or even native applications and soon Unity. That's cool. So I'm going to call this Ionic app. For the host name, I'm actually going to use the wildcard star. So you can use the star to allow wildcard host names or subdomains. And I can also install the Appwrite. This is also, this is points to our application. We're gonna do this in a second. Okay, cool. We got our project so far ready, but we should add a database. So let's go to database and add a database. I'm just gonna call this my DB, hit create, it creates the database. Now, although it is using MariaDB in the background, which is a regular SQL database, it is using the terms of a NoSQL database like collections and documents. So this is actually pretty cool because I like to work with a NoSQL way with collections and documents as it feels easier, but under hood it's still using regular SQL. So I'm just gonna add a notes collection here. There we go. I don't know. I kind of like the light theme more. I don't know. And I know developers usually tend to use the dark theme, but I kind of like the light. How can I go back? There we go. I must admit, I like this light theme. I don't know why, but Appwrite, I like your light theme. So here's our notes collection. I can manually add something, but first of all, I should define attributes, which are pretty much like the columns the fields of your database, however you want to call them. So since this is a notes table, we can select now between different attributes. For now, I'm just gonna go with a string. I'm gonna call this title. I don't know, should be somewhere this length, and probably the title should be required. So I'm going to create this one, and I'm going to create another one. I'm going to call this text. This should be, I don't know, let's make it 2K and not required. So there we go. We got the attributes, and we could manually now add a document with a title and a text. Those fields were created for us. That's pretty cool. However, you usually also want to protect your data, and you can do this under settings, where we got permissions. So I want to add a role, and there's a little drop down. Actually, it's quite tiny, that drop down. It's not getting any bigger even if I zoom in. So I could specify that a specific user, team, member, or other roles have the usual CRUD permissions. What I want to do is I want to have all users, not just a specific user. So in this case, I could put an ID here for one specific user. However, I want to do this for all users. I don't want to do this for guests or other members or teams. I think we could define the teams right here. So under authentication, I could create teams, which means we can have quite complicated setups for the security logic, which I found pretty cool. I know writing these rules tends to be kind of challenging with both Firebase and Supabase, and I know that a lot of you have struggled with them. So this could be actually something really refreshing. Anyway, we're going for all users can create and read documents. And I'm also going to enable the document security here. This means with document security, users will be able to access documents for which they have been granted either document or collection permissions. And this is important because right now nobody could update or delete something. But we're going to manually set these fields when we create nodes from code. So then only specific users get the update and delete permission. Because otherwise, I can't say like only owners of a document can update and delete. I can't really configure this in here. Maybe this comes in the future to Appwrite, but right now, this is how we would do it. So I updated my collection. That looks good. Now, there was one more thing I did initially, and that was if you, where's my installation? So right now, this should have created a folder, Appwrite, exactly. This is the, where am I? Am I record Appwrite? What did I do here? I actually don't know what I did. But this is certainly gonna mess up everything now. Yes, thanks. So by default, after running the command, it will create an Appwrite folder with an environment file and with a Docker compose file. I don't want to get into this because I actually don't know exactly what's going on. I think this is just the definition for the packages that Docker installs. However, the environment file is interesting as you can define a bunch of things in here. And especially what I want to define is app SMTP stuff, because out of the box, there's no email sending included with Appwrite, so you got to plug in your own SMTP settings here. You could use something like Mailgun, or you can just use your own email and get the SMTP settings included in here. And what you want to do for that is also, first of all, calling stop. So Docker compose stop will stop our servers. Actually, we see in the desktop instant here of Docker, oh, something is going on. So it's stopping our containers here. And once all of them are stopped, we can update our environment file. Sometimes this actually took some time, like here, something is still pending, but in the end it should finish, and then you will also see that no container is active. And then you can put in your SMTP settings here. You can also play around with the different names here, like app system email name. I'm gonna call this cross-platform king. Cross-platform king. App system, yeah, team Appwrite. I'm just gonna use Simon at kickoffIonic.com. So I got that domain and email, and I'm gonna try and send through that. But that also means I'm gonna include my real settings, so let me cut this out. With my real settings in place, we can now bring up the Docker instance by running docker compose up, which should hopefully fire up all our containers again. And once we check out the, where is my instance? Oh yes, it's running, nice. So we don't really see any change right now, but we're gonna eventually notice this in the future. Just one final note before we dive into our Ionic application. We're gonna get into storage and buckets later. Authentication is by default enabled, so we don't really need to do anything. There are tons of providers that we could add to our application. Oh, that's even more than I remember. But by default, we got email password enabled and magic URL. This is what we want to use. And we don't need to do anything for that. However, for the configuration of the database or your general project, I just want to tell you that there's also the Appwrite CLI that you can install, npm install globally the Appwrite CLI. And with the Appwrite CLI, you can log into your project and into your Appwrite server, and then create projects, create collections. And I did this in, or I got actually a bit of help on this one. in the repository of this video, which you can check out below the video, there's what's it called? I think it's an appwrite.json file. I think that, yeah, appwrite.json. So you could use this file as the base for the CLI, which would then create a collection and add all the permissions and even add the attributes. So this can automate things. Just wanted to put it in here because this is quite interesting as well, especially if you get you want to quickly set up an Appwrite environment that you previously configured. So then you just feed in or use that Appwrite JSON to create all the projects, the collections, and all the rules. You don't need to manually click around all the time. Okay, we got a notes collection. We got everything in place. I think we are ready to dive into an Ionic application. So I already created a blank new Ionic application, this time using Ionic React. So I just ran the first command and we're here in the folder. I want to install a few things. So we definitely want to install the Appwrite client package, but I also want to install a few other things. So the React hook form package is pretty nice if you have some kind of form where you capture data. Then of course the capacitor camera, because I later want to also add images and I want to do this on the web as well. So I'm using the progressive web app elements package as well. Finally, I'm going to add the iOS platform for now. I can't show you everything at the same time, but later we're going to take a look at how our application looks like on an iOS device as well. Now, once we got this, we can dive into our application. We can run Ionic Server for now, but the start is actually pretty boring. We're going to certainly put that window somewhere. However, we need some general configuration first. This is my Appwrite database. That's cool. I'm going to close this for now. And we're going to definitely look into our cool application later. So let's begin by checking out the application. Under home, we got the default setup. I actually don't need that default setup at all. So I'm gonna remove the container here. I'm gonna call this I think we're actually not using home in the end, so we can let's leave it like it is. Doesn't matter too much. But what we certainly need is more functionality. So let's add a new folder. I'm gonna call this config. And in here, we're gonna create a file. Let's just call this appwrite.ts. Within the appwrite.ts, we will now create the connection to our Appwrite server. And we can do this by using the client. So we can call new client. Oh, come on, no automatic import. Oh, please. I can bring this in. So I got a little line for this. So the general import comes from Appwrite. There are tons of things we can import, like account, avatars, client. We're gonna see how all of them play together in the end. For now, the only thing we need is to initialize the client by calling set endpoint. And you can usually find all these settings in your project. So if I would go to my project, at some point under settings, yeah, there's the API endpoint. That's good. And what we also need to call is set project to define which of our projects we're actually using. And this is where your project ID comes into play. That looks cool. We can also do this with a little multi-line if we want to. And what I want to do is call this client and then export from this Appwrite.ts file all the things that we need. So we can do it just like this. We can create all the packages like new account, new database, storage, and avatars using our client. So the client is just like the bridge to our Appwrite server. And you could have like the real URL if you deployed it somewhere else. And then we export client account in lowercase, because otherwise those are the names of the actual Appwrite packages. However, then we can create our own hooks or functionalities and use these, and we can be sure that they're initialized correctly, and we don't need to take care of anything in our other files in the end anymore. All right, that's a good starting point. We can't really see the effect of this in action yet. and we also need a bit more logic up front. So let's create a new hook. We could of course also do all of these calls just directly from the pages. However, I think by structuring them in a custom hook, we got a bit more like general structure in our application. So let's create a folder hooks, and I'm gonna call this file auth.ts because this will be responsible for handling all of the authentication fun. So we can create a custom hook. Let's call this use auth. And what we need to do is we just need to define our own functions in here and then return them in an object. That's just what we need to do. And I want to just bring in the functionalities one by one because they're actually super easy to create. So let's start with the first one. And I don't want to zoom out. I wanted to get my missing packages. I'm going to follow this create account, and I'm going to add it to my return statement. So what this does is it will create an account with email and password using the account from our Appwrite config file that we created before. And the create function from the account package from Appwrite requires a user ID, email, password, and optionally also a name, like the last parameter. We don't really have a name here, so I'm just gonna go with email and password. Now, after creating the account, I'm also creating an email session. Users are allowed now to log in, and I'm gonna also create a verification immediately. Use this endpoint to send a verification message to your user email address to confirm the email. And the interesting thing is here, this will of course send us an email, but we need to dive into our application once we click that link and verify this. So I'm using window location origin, which is just like whatever local host we're currently on, and then /verify/account. This will be important later, so this route doesn't exist yet, but we're gonna have to define that in a second. Now, to create a login, well, that's super easy actually. We can use everything, all the authentication stuff from the Appwrite account package. So if you look into this, if you just run account, you see create, anonymous session, email session, JWT session. At some point, yeah, we got, of course, delete session, we got the get preferences and get session. We can update email and everything. Update verification is especially important. So all of this is just included in account, and we just create some wrapper functionality around this. Same now for our second sign in or sign up functionality, which is magic link. I really like this because we just need an email for that of the user. And then we also need to verify this. So we're gonna see this link appear in an email. Notice how we got verify magic here and verify account because we need to distinguish between them. They're actually two different things. And that also means we need two different functions to update either the magic verification using update magic URL session or update verification just for a regular email. And in both cases, we got an user ID and secret. Those will be passed with the URL, with the email we get. And then we will be able to manually do this. So we really got full control over the whole verification process of an email or of a user in general. Now, two more additional helper functions, and then our hook is complete. Get current user. The get function is on the account is the global function to just check if you currently have a user pretty much. And sign out, of course, deletes our current session, so we don't need to do anything else. Now we finally just need to export all of these things or return them, and then we will be able to use our custom hook. And with that in place, we can finally dive into a new page. Let's call this login.tsx. Do I got a snippet for this, like React functional component? Not too bad, not too bad. Export default function login. Yeah, I think we can actually keep it like that. Is there a difference? Tiny, I see a difference here. I kind of want to do it like this. I don't know why. I just want to do it like this. Anyway, this is login, and then we can also get rid of the home page. We can even also delete the home CSS, and we can also delete those components. Great. On the login page, we got a ton of error because we need to import everything from Ionic React. And most likely our app is now not working anymore. Oh, what's that in the background? Oh, my Appwrite instance, yes. Where's my app actually? Has anyone seen my Ionic app? Hello, friendo? Oh, there you are. It's complaining because we removed our file. So let's go into the app.tsx and remove the home file. So we're gonna change our routing a bit in here. We just gonna use for, I think, for slash. We gonna use the component login. Thanks for no auto import today. Okay, now it works. So there we go. This will, I don't think we need a redirect here. And let's check. We will go to the slash and then we're on a blank page again. Let's try and call this login, and I'm gonna use the color primary, and we should see yes. Nice. In fact, I don't want to use the default Ionic blue today. I prepared a cool color that's more fitting. So let's go to my theme variables, and I'm gonna replace the primary color with a nice red touch. So this is definitely more fitting for our Ionic React Appwrite application. Cool. Okay, so our job is now to create a login form. We need a sign up button, we need a login button, we need a magic link button, and all of that should actually be no problem because we prepared our cool hook. So let's import probably the important functionalities first. So we got send magic link, create account, and log in from use auth from our custom hook. We're not yet using them, no problem. What we also need at this point is we should import something like show alert using the use ion alert hook. So I really like how easily we can use these Ionic components and things with React. On top of that, we also need to prepare our form. So we can import register, handle, submit, and get values from use form. No import. Okay. No problem. This is just coming from the React hook form. Or did I just mess up and that was the problem? Maybe one, maybe two, I don't know. Finally, we also need to present and dismiss because we want to show a loading. Use ion loading. So whenever you want something, just start with use ion and then you want to see all the options. Now we need a few functions. And we need a few buttons. Where do we start? Probably we're gonna let's just type out the functions. We're gonna call this trigger magic link equals async function. And then we're going to copy this for sign up and sign in. Okay, that looks good. So let's add a few buttons to our class. We already got the color primary in place. We got the login. Let's give the content a bit padding. So class name ion padding. And then within we're just gonna put an ion card and make sure whenever I hit enter, it's gonna add the import here because we need to import all the components from Ionic React that we need with React. Coffee is still warm. That's new. Usually whenever I'm in a tutorial, it's usually cold. Nice. I should probably pretty soon get more. Okay. So here is the card inside our content, and we're just gonna put in the form now. And on submit, we wanna call our sign-in function, but we're gonna wrap this with handle submit from the React package. And then just pass the sign-in function here. Because if we do it like this, we actually get the data right in here. I'm logging this out, data. We'll probably make this any. And then we're gonna see that we get all the values from the form that we registered. Now, how do we register them? Well, we just need to put in something like an Ion item usually, and then we got an Ion label. I'm gonna use the position stacked today. I'm gonna call this one email, and then the actual Ion input field, which is probably more important. This one's type email, hint placeholder, whatever, john@apple.com. However, the important part follows now. So we do get this form that looks good. But what we need to do is we need to register this for our React package. So we go ahead, the operator here, and call register. So name of this field, I'm gonna call this one email. And then we can pass in some kind of options that we want to. So I'm just gonna do required true. You could be even better here. You can also have like a, can we have a default value? Yeah, let's do this. Let's use simon@devdactic.com. That's gonna make life easier so I don't have to type this out all the time. Also, we can already do like a button now. So Ion button, expand, oh no, expand full type. I'm gonna just give this one button the type submit and make it strong or true. And class name, let's do something like Ion margin top or Ion margin bottom. No, let's stick to top. And then sign in. Cool, that was our button. Let's see if I click this, we should actually, yes, we do get it back, this object with email. So our input is registered, and because we're using handle submit from React hook form, the one we imported right here, we do get all the values directly passed to sign in. Now let's just add another field. This one will be password, type password, placeholder, whatever. Doesn't really matter. Do you put placeholders into a password field? I don't know. And with Appwrite, the required password length is actually 8. So now that we got the password field, we do get back email and password here. That's good. Now we also need 2 more buttons. Let's just copy this. This one will be type button. So if we use type button inside of a form, it's not triggering the submit. However, we could also just put it behind the form. But in those cases, we of course need a click listener. So on click, we want to call sign up, or what was it called? Sign up, yeah. Sign up. Probably a different color, right? Let's use the color secondary. And then we got a, yes, sign up, but this is more like create account. And then we got another button. I'm just gonna put this now outside of the form to show you the different ways how we could do this. Trigger magic link is this one. I wanna say send magic link. So you see, I'm gonna reuse my form here. Actually making this different color. I'm gonna reuse my form both for sign in, create account, and send magic link, just to make our life a tiny bit easier. Actually, it kind of looks horrible like this. Let's get a bit of, yeah, looks funny, it looks better. I think this is cool. Oh. Now the only problem is that inside of our register and sign up functions, we don't get past this data because we're using the special handle submit. However, that's why I added get values in the beginning. So we can just get those values in here. So let's do for the sign up, for example, const data equals get values. And if I now log out the data, create account, we see I still get back the same object. So this is like the manual way to get all of this. So I think it's time to create our functions. Maybe we start with trigger magic link because that's the easiest one. So we're gonna start with a little loading because something's gonna happen. Then we're gonna grab the data. We're gonna await send magic link from our custom hook. I think this one just, yes, expects an email. So we're using data.email. After this is finished, actually I don't know what we get back. Let's just call this result and see what it logs out. Sorry, please log this. Once we got this back, we're gonna dismiss the loading. And once we got that, we're gonna show an alert with a little message. Check your emails for the magic link. Okay, something is off here. Yeah, why did we put it in there? It certainly doesn't belong there. We could actually, I think we could do this, right? Could we do the send magic link? Let's check it out. Okay, check emails for magic link. This looks like some kind of response from Appwrite. We can check this out under authentication. Yes, there's the user. Unverified. Nice. We didn't pass a name, so again, we could have passed a name. I'm gonna do this actually. Let me delete this user. I want to see this. We're gonna just do this manually in our hook here. Where is this working for magic links as well? Create magic URL session, user ID, email. No, I don't think in this case. Only if we do the default register here. I think we can pass in Simon. I'm gonna check this out. But that means we can also already do the next one. So for sign up, we're gonna present our loading, we get the values, and we should probably put this now into a try catch block. We're gonna try and await create account with our data.email, data.password. And if we catch an error, I'm gonna log out the error for now. And I'm also gonna show an alert, something like register failed. I don't know, invalid credentials. We can probably get that information from the error as well. Sometimes those errors are kind of cryptical, so we're gonna see what the error looks like. Otherwise, we're gonna dismiss this and show, please check your inbox. Please check your inbox to confirm your account. Okay, let's see. We're gonna hit create account. Please check your inbox to confirm your account. We will certainly do. But let's see what happens when I do it again. Yes. Conflict. Okay, it's just throwing this config. Is there any other information included in this call? Let's make this a bit bigger for a second. I really like to see if there's oh yeah, actually we got this one. So I should probably, inside of my hook, inside of create account, I do return the error, don't I? Catching return error. Or do I need to throw this? Let's try this again, because I don't see the log in here for user. Yes, that looks better. But then again, I don't see that this is a real object. I would need something like e.message, but I don't think it will allow me to do it just like this. Come on. Why are you removing this? This is not allowed inside a catch block or what? Why can't I do it like this? On save, it's just immediately removing this. That is so strange. Yeah. Ugly heck. Oh yeah, it works. It works just like this. We just need to dismiss this here, and then we get the real error. Okay, a user with the same email already exists in your project. Nice. This is what I wanted to see. So we can probably reuse all of this for our sign-in as well. Let's do this. At this point, we actually already got the data, so we can just call the, was it login? Yeah, with data email, data password, dismiss. We don't really need an alert in this case. And we will actually manually handle the result in a second. I'm gonna log this out. Let's see, if I put in a wrong password, invalid credentials, please check. Nice, we got the right error messages. That's cool. Cool. However, the problem is sometimes my emails are not sent, or did I made a mistake once again? simon@devdectic.com. The account should be created. We can usually do a little login here. So there's a what was it called? Docker compose logs for the email has finished. Well, if you say so, I don't think it really finished. So I'm just gonna, for a second, remove my user again. By the way, it worked to pass along Simon as the name. Probably also my email client it's still showing checking mail, and usually at some point I just get like 3 emails from Appwrite. I don't know what's wrong, if it is me or Appwrite. I actually do think it's me, because the Appwrite log definitely said like, yes, we did send that email. Anyway, I'm gonna delete the user. By the way, if you don't have the SMTP credentials, you could now just click here to verify the user during testing this out. So let's see, the user is removed. I'm gonna just go ahead and create a new account. Please check your inbox to confirm your account. And I hope that over the next few seconds a new email will arrive, or at least over the next like minute. However, we can anyway already continue because we have no way to confirm the email. So that means we need to create a verification page. We did see that we can create the user in here, and yes, we can manually confirm him or her, but that's of course not our goal. Also, this really looks like, we did send everything. It's gonna be interesting. Just gonna wait a few minutes. I'm very sure that the email will pop up soon. Sometimes it's also going to my junk folder, but that's probably more a problem of my own email. Anyway, what we now want to do is we want to prepare an authentication context, because later we want to protect our application, like the inside pages. We're going to have a notes page and the details page, and usually you only want to show them to authenticated users. Now, how do we do this with React? Well, we create our own context. So let's create a new folder. I'm going to call this providers. I don't know why it's always when I do this, it's not focusing the name. It's so confusing. We're going to call this Auth provider. So this video is not just an introduction to Appwrite. It's actually also like a little React course about using authentication and APIs. Interesting. So we need a few things here. Let's start by defining our auth context. So export const auth context equals create context. So this is the important part from React that we are using here. Now we also want to define a little interface for our authentication context, and the interface could look like this. It should have a user, a way to see if we're currently still loading the user, and a function that we can trigger from the outside to kind of reload the user. We could also call this reload user. And now I'm gonna give these as a type to my context. All of this is optional, otherwise I would have to initialize them. I could probably do it. Could I probably initialize it with like auth user? If I do null, do you be mad about this? Is loading true, and load user just something like this. Oh, this should be a promise. No, this is becoming challenging because I would have to like return a new promise. Yeah, well, let's go back to the question mark. It's not a big deal anyway, if it is optional or not. Anyway, this is the beginning of our context. So now we're going to create the actual auth provider, which will in the end return our auth context as a component. So there are children that we're going to have to protect, and then we can open this. So what we're going to return in the end looks like this: auth context dot provider. Value will be a value element, like the functions, just like we did in our hook. So we're going to define some functions and we're going to declare them here in value, and then we're going to just pass this in here. Then our auth context will be wrapped around whatever children we got, and this is our auth context. So then we will be able to use our authentication provider right inside the top level of our app. So we're going to put this up here around the Ion app, and of course make sure to import it. And then we have wrapped the authentication provider around our app. Now this is still being children of the type any. Yeah, well, that's true. Okay, and then we got it. So by now the authentication context doesn't really have any real logic. So let's change this. We're gonna use a little state in here. So auth user and set auth user. Come on, let's do this in one line. Use state. We're gonna set this to null in the beginning. And the same we're gonna do for is loading. So loading will be true. I encounter a lot of problems if I took other React tutorials about creating an auth context and just using them. I assume that most of them are using local storage or something is like in a synchronous way. But in our case, we need to make a GET request to the server. So account.get, what we've seen in our hook before, right here to check if we actually do have a user. And therefore we have some loading logic, and we need a way to handle this. And this is the way to do it. So now we can also get that function, get current user, from our cool hook from before, use authentication. And then we can actually pass all of this to value. So authentication user is loading, and no, actually the load user function, we need to define that. Load user equals async function. In here we're gonna try and get the user, await get current user, and we're gonna check because this might fail. So I'm gonna add a catch block right in here, and if this fails for whatever reason, we do want to make sure that we call set loading false, because that means the user is not authenticated, we don't have a user, and we need a way to end our loading state. Afterwards, we can also call set user on the user and definitely call set loading here. So we could also probably use like a finally, that would work as well. Set auth user, what's the problem? Type void is not assignable to type. And sometimes I'm just trolling TypeScript. However, this is here our authentication context. We're gonna later add also something to protect the internal routes. So by now we just have this context around our application. We're gonna protect it later, as I said, but for now, I think we can continue, and we can actually continue and create a few new pages. So let's create a new notes.tsx. So this will be our inside page. Gonna grab the snippet here, close this, gonna call this notes, and export default notes. We should probably have like at least a tiny little interface, just like this. No, here's the component, brackets, and it all missing imports. And come on. Sorry. Return. What's the matter? Oh, I forgot to close a bunch of things, right? Better like this, yes. So now we do have a notes page as well. And just like we have a notes page, we're gonna now add a verify page.tsx. I'm gonna call this verify. By the way, I think we could, for the verification, even leave this out and don't have a UI at all. We're gonna check this. By the way, I'm still. Oh no, I got. I don't know. I just had to click into the project and then I see the email. So here is an email I get from, or I got, which points to. Can I zoom into the email? Yes. Localhost /verify/magic followed by the user ID and a secret. That means it's gonna be pretty easy. We just need to create the page, the verify page, grab the user ID and secret ID from the query params of that URL. The rest is not really interesting right now. And then we are good to go. So let's check out the app.tsx and we're gonna add 2 new routes. I'm gonna add verify/type because remember we were here. We can either have verify account or verify magic because those 2 verifications require to use one of these 2 functions as the email and the email magic link and the authentication just for the confirmation for the email are different types. Second route will be notes, so this will trigger notes, and this is verify. Okay, cool. So if I follow my link now, yes, I should actually arrive directly here on the verify page with all the information in the URL. And as I said, we now just need to resolve that information and just grab it and pass it to our provider service. Context hook to the custom hook. That's where we want to go. Okay, should be pretty easy. Let's use the we're gonna use ion. Oh, we certainly want to do it in here in the component. Use ion view will enter. I'm gonna use async. Also, we now need access to the match property here. Yeah, I'm not using it yet, but I will. I promise I will. Let's also import present, so we can present some kind of loading. Again, use ion loading. There we go. And then we can call present here, set just like a little loading thing. Then we can grab the query params using new URL search params. Oh no, I don't want this. I don't think I want. And we can just pass in window.location.search. So I found this to be really the easiest way to access those. Gonna add a little lock in here. Does not exist on type, though it actually does exist. I don't want to write an interface right now, so I'm just gonna add any, and then it should say doesn't show anything. I think we still need to call get. It's probably the problem that it's not showing anything up front, so let's try. User ID is query params.get user ID. And then we got the secret sauce in here. It's a secret. So let's try if those 2 values are set. Yes, secret and user ID. We actually get the lock twice. I think this is because we're using strict mode, and then use context also is called twice, so probably use ion view will enter is also called twice. I could imagine that that's the case. Ooh. All right, now the coffee is definitely cold and empty. What a pity. On top of that, we also should extract the type. So let's get the type from the URL as well, which we can do from match.params.type. Let's see if that looks correct. Yes, type magic. So apparently I clicked on a magic link. Yes, but I do have an email to verify my account as well. So in that case, if I click this one, it should say type account, right? Perfect. This is perfect. Now we just need to do a little bit of if and else magic, and then we're all set. So let's check if we got a user ID, and we do got a secret. So otherwise, how did I spell secret? Where's secret gone? I did have that line, didn't I? Where's my secret line? Oh, I just removed everything here. I'm so sorry. Now it's good. If user ID and secret is set, then we're gonna do something. In the else case, we're gonna show a little error. Let's see, import const show alert from use ion alert. So we can use show alert in the else case, or we're gonna probably do a little show error function here. There we go. We can use this in other cases as well, like if something goes wrong. We're just gonna show this little alert. Could not verify your session. Please get a new link. Let's not use this. And then we can use either navigate or, yeah, let's use the router. We can get the router for manual routing. You can either use the React default router, or you can use the Ionic one. I'm just gonna go with Ionic stuff today. So use Ion router in here, because really those hooks are super easy to use. We're gonna push to our initial page, and the direction will be root. We can also have a router action, pop, push, or replace. I'm gonna call this replace. So in case the URL was somehow messed up, we should now call this. So let's see if this is possible. Just gotta remove a bunch of things from the URL. Pretty much everything. Okay. In that case, we should also call dismiss from our loading. Good catch, good catch. There we go. That was a screenshot. I don't know why. Suddenly a wild screenshot appeared. We are dismissing and we are showing the error. Are we not dismissing this? Use ion loading, present, else. I feel like we messed up something. Should I probably await this? How is this possible that the loading is still in place? It certainly shouldn't be. Actually, we can dismiss this before we do anything else here. But it doesn't show a thing. Const show error. What's the matter right now? Is this like the same? Use ion loading. Where did I go wrong along the way? We should probably also await this. Yeah, it can happen that it is kind of strange because both of these are a promise and you need to await them usually. So if you do this, it's kind of presented and dismissed is called probably even before it is actually displayed. So can happen, can happen. Gonna put it in here and then we got it hopefully. So if we arrive on verified without legit information in here, we cannot verify, please get a new link, and then we go back here. Do we get like verify? Let's check it out. I feel like this is open twice. Oh yeah, I think this is open twice because we saw the logs before twice as well. Let's go to the apt index. I'm just gonna disable React strict mode. This is sometimes really confusing me. So let's try again. We should have all the error handling in place. Open login, yeah. All right, so last step now is to actually confirm our email with a little logic. I'm gonna wrap this in try catch again. So if type equals magic, in that case we're gonna, we need to import this, right? We're gonna update this here from our use auth package. Update user verification. No, we want to update the magic verification using user ID and secret. So at that point, it really becomes very, very easy. Else case, so we could check, of course, else if type equals, I think it's account or email. I think it's account. No, make no typo, Simon, please. In that case, it's update user verification, again, user ID and secret. Cool. So after doing this, what we should do is as well update our context. And I think, yeah, I need a catch block here. Catch block, I'm gonna show the error in that catch block as well. After doing this, we should update our context, and we can do this just by importing our load user function from the context. So let's do this. Load user equals use context. So we're not directly importing some hook, we're just using the auth context. Everything right? Yeah, looks good, looks good. And so we should have access to load user at this point. Let's await this as well. Yeah, because it is optional, we're gonna add this, but it's definitely defined at that point. All right, at this point, we have verified an email and we did a reload of our user. We're gonna actually do like, let's check out the authentication provider and see the user in here. That's always cool. And I think at this point, we only need to navigate forward. So, not this one. No. Oh, I call this router. Push. I'm going to push our notes page. This should be kind of rude, actually. And should it be a push? I feel like it should just be a replace. And again, I think I could maybe even remove all the UI from our verify page. So even if we end up here, we don't want to see anything. Let's just remove this. Are you mad if I do this like this? No, I think it's fine. I think it's fine. Okay, so that also means we should technically be able to completely verify our user. This is a big milestone for us. Let's check. My users, we do got Simon. Simon is unverified. So I'm going to use the verify account address here. And we're going to see what happens. Nothing. That's good. And we also see no log. Okay, can happen. Why should it work the first time? User ID secret. Update user verification. I should probably user ID and secret. Try if type magic. Is my type account? Yeah, my type is account. Pretty sure my type is account. Let's do a result here and check that we are actually really calling this one. Why are we not calling anything? Oh, because we have no Ion page and the view is not appearing, right? Is that the error? Oh, that's funny. That's funny. I learned so much when I do these tutorials. I'm just gonna use an Ion page here and then yes, and then nice. And then we got type account, the result from our verification. That looks good, something whatever. And then we got the log for the user. And because I forgot to dismiss the loading at this point, there we go. Everything looks like this. So, but anyway, we arrived on the notes page, which just says login, but actually it is the notes page. So we see it here in the background. Can I use my link again is the question now. Let's check. Yeah, I probably can't because it expired. We can do this again. Let's do one final try. By the way, we are now verified. I'm just gonna unverify my email and just gonna try my link again. I think, yeah, the secret expired or something like that. Damn, I would really have loved to use this. Anyway, I'm gonna just delete the user. I'm gonna go back to the sign up. So let's create an account. Please confirm your email. I hope I do get an email. Yeah, now it arrived a lot faster. Yes, and we're inside without any loading, and our email is confirmed. Nice, we did it. So we have completed our setup for the Appwrite process. There's another email. Our user is now confirmed. As we can see, status verified. This is the flow of the Appwrite user authentication. You create the account, or you trigger the magic link. You create some kind of verification logic which triggers the update for either the magic link or the user verification, and then you can gently guide the user forward to the inside area. Now, with our inside area available, we can finally talk again about protecting that inside area. For this, we should go to the notes page and probably add something like a sign out. So let's const sign out equals whatever async. I'm just gonna do async by default these days. I should probably just have a snippet for this. We're gonna sign out the user. We can use this from our custom hook. Oh, did I just? Where are we? I feel like I changed my zoom. Should be 4. No, 4 is better. Sign out user, exactly. So await sign out user, and then we can navigate to the login. So const router equals use ion router. There it is. And then router dot. Actually, you always use push. Even I don't know. Probably they're gonna change the name for that in the future. The route direction in this case is actually back, and we do want to pop that page if we sign out. So I'm just gonna add a little button to our toolbar now, probably to the end. Ion buttons slot end, and then an ion button on click. We want to call sign out. And we're gonna add a little ion icon as well. Icon should be something like logout. I think for the first time I need to do this manually. Logout outline from Ionic cons / icons. And I can directly use that here. Okay, there's the thing. We should probably put it into the slot icon only to make it bigger. Okay, great. Okay, we can sign out now. Let's try. That looks good. However, I can still go back to nodes. And this is what we want to prevent, because this shouldn't be allowed for unauthenticated users. And this is where we need to take a little step back again to our authentication provider and add a little function in here. So what we need is an interface. I'm gonna call this private route props extends router or route props. Can we do this? Yeah, from the React router with component any. And once we got this, we can now create our own component. We're gonna call this private route, and this will be a React functional component using our private route props. And we just need to get the syntax right here. So we got the brackets and the curly brackets, component. I feel like, yeah, component. And then we also got the rest of everything else. Oh, I made a mistake. This should be okay. Type is not assignment. Yeah, we haven't done anything in here, so we need to return something, And then in here, we should have our object. And this is what we can wrap around our component. We just need to figure out how to access the user in here. Actually, it should be really easy because we just want to pretty much return a new kind of route. So it's a private route, but overall, it is still a route from the React router. To that route, we're gonna pass all the information that we got. Right here, all the rest of the props goes to the route. And then for that route, we implement a render function. So we go ahead, we got the props in here as well. And then we got some sort of logic in here. So now we can begin. If our current state is loading, and I notice we don't have access to is loading yet, but we can easily use our own authentication context in here. So no, not this one. We can get the auth user and is loading from use context, just like we did in the other class using our auth context. And then we got access to auth user. So if we are still loading, or maybe we do this easily. Let's just implement something so I can show you how it should look in the end. So in general, it should just return. Now it's pretty much doing nothing at all. It's just a standard route. The name is different. It's a private route, but in the end, we render just the component that this component holds. So now we can go to our app.tsx, and for example, for the notes page, we want to use a private route now. And I'm gonna add a little lock in here somewhere. Private, let's do it like this. And then we see we are accessing the notes page right here. And we see the lock from our auth provider. So we can now simply say if we don't have an authenticated user at this point, we're gonna return a redirect instead. So not the actual component, but we're gonna redirect to, we need a equals, and then we got path name and set this to our initial page. So in case we don't have a user, we redirect here, and that actually works pretty well. However, if I now sign in, we notice that I still can't access this. Okay, this is of course the wrong path, but if I go to nodes, still it is private. And the problem is that our user is not yet loaded. So therefore we add this block with is loading. And in that case, we just return an empty fragment. So let's do a login here, still loading. And now let's try it again. We should actually be signed in. So private, still loading. Okay, that looks good. However, we don't see, do we have a notes page? I was just curious. I do think we have a notes page, right? So we got is loading. Now we need to be careful. We're probably at some point not correctly updating is loading, or at least this is my assumption right now. So are we using is loading here somewhere? Do we actually ever set it to false? Okay, yeah, we do set loading false, but we are never calling load user. Why are we never calling load user? Because we need use effect in here. Good catch, Simon. Thanks. Load user. We're gonna just call this once, so an empty dependency array. Let's try again. And voila, we are immediately able to access nodes. And now the test. I copy this, sign out. Nope, no more user. We see a 401 if we try to access the account endpoint from Appwrite. No more user, and our page is protected. And that's, ladies and gentlemen, is how you can easily build an authentication context for your React application. Again, what learned, as we say in Germany. I think we can actually close our authentication provider. There's one more thing I think we are now ready to do, and that is, as you've seen, after sign in, we're not really signed in. So when we access our login page, we could now check if we do have a user, because we're actually not doing any kind of routing right now after a sign in. We just log out our results here, which we don't even need. So let's inside the login at the same snippet use effect. And inside use effect, we need the authentication user from our context. So the same logic that we used before already. Use context with our auth context, and then we can check if we do have an authenticated user. When we access the login page, we can directly go to the inside area. So do we have the router already? I guess not, right? Yeah, we don't have the router yet. Const router equals use ion router, and then router dot push, and we're gonna push our inside page, which is currently just the nodes page. We will replace this really. I'm gonna make this root and replace. Otherwise, or also we're gonna make this a dependency, and then it should run just once. So now that we do have a user here on the login page, we're immediately brought to the inside area because we are logged in. And I can also try and navigate there again. It's like having our little guard in front of the login page that says, oh no, you do have a user, it's fine, please come in, come in. So we're able to register, to log in, to use magic links, and to protect our pages. So now we dive into another field of our Appwrite application, and that is to actually interact with the database. So let's close login. We can close app. We do have the nodes page, that's good. But we do want to create a new data.ts custom hook. So I'm gonna call this use data. Yeah, it's not returning anything yet. I know. So return. Should have a snippet for that as well. Okay, so within here we need a few things. First of all, what we do need is const, because we need access. No, probably not inside here. I'm sorry. We're gonna do this outside. The const to our database, the ID, and to our nodes collection. So let's grab them somewhere. Usually you can find them right on the collection and then going to settings. So there's the collection ID, voila, and the database ID. There we go. Okay, so we at this point can simply go ahead and implement some functions. For example, to get all nodes from the database. It's gonna be an asynchronous function. And we're gonna just grab it and try catch as well. So in this case, we're not using account. Now we're using databases. And on databases, we can call client, create document, delete, get document, list. So all the CRUD functionalities that we need. In this case, guess what? We need to list documents. Then we got a signature database ID. Okay, that's easy. We got a collection ID. Okay, that's easy as well. Then we get queries. Do we need this? I don't think, because we just want to list all the documents in there. This is, can I just say documents? Expression is, okay, can we return this? Yeah, cool, thanks, that's good. That looks good. Because from that call I want the documents, and that makes life a bit easier. Also, we might want to have like an interface for our node in case we want to use it later. Probably we could even use it in here. Like this should return a promise with a node array. Oh yeah, but then in the catch block, what if we return empty? Would you be fine with that? I feel like I missed. No, this doesn't belong here. It belongs here. Async. No, actually, it should be. Come on, Simon, I'm confused. belongs here. Promise is declared, but its value is never a promise. Something node. You're not happy with this? But why? This is actually legit code like this. This is a promise. Are you unhappy because this is not a promise down here? But then would usually mark that line. Oh, it's a parsing error. But where? Where is the parsing error? I don't see it. I promise node could also do something like any. Oh yeah, my bad. Yeah, I'm new to TypeScript. Sorry about that. Document is not assignable to type node. Is it really? Wouldn't it work like this? Yeah, that would make it happy. So then we actually have the right signature for get nodes. That's cool. Let's just do this. Let's try and go to the nodes page and simply try and grab that data here. I'm gonna use ion view will enter, and then we're gonna try and grab our data. So that was get nodes from our use data hook, and then we're gonna call const nodes equals. Const nodes equals, oh wait, oh, so many typos. I should go back to my Apple keyboard. I don't know, I'm just, this mechanical keyboard is killing me. Get nodes, save. And let's see, app, where are you? Where's my app? There's the app. We don't have any nodes. Okay, that was kinda what I expected. Let's try and manually fake a node. Add document, title, cool, node 1, Simon's text. I'm not gonna add any permissions. I don't know what's gonna happen, but we will see. Let's try this again and refresh. And da-da-da-da, we do have a node, and I feel like my head is covering this, right? I'm pretty sure it is. Let's make this a bit smaller. So here we go. We got collection ID, created database, text, and title. That was the important part. So at this point, we are able to read data from the database. We probably also should have a state for this. So const nodes and set nodes, and then we're gonna use state empty array, and then we're gonna call set nodes with the nodes. You could also do this in one line if you wanted to. However, type node is not assignable to type never. Type node. Oh, I'm always getting into TypeScript hell whenever I start using types. But it seems like this should probably work. Okay. We need a way to add a node. Yeah, that makes sense. Let's add a function. I'm gonna call this create node, and we're gonna make it a bit easier today. We just gonna use a function from our hook. So we're gonna prepare a new function here to create a node. Can you format this document, please? Shouldn't be too hard. Format whatever you want, just prettier, anything. Thanks. Come on. I'm gonna call this const add node. And to create a node, the only thing we made required is a title. So I'm just gonna pass in the title here to that function. And now it gets interesting, because to create a new node, we're gonna use return databases.create document. Again, database ID, collection ID, and then document ID. You can usually pass in a string like unique. I really like these shortcuts that are not very well documented here. You see it inside the official documentation, but I can't really see it in here. So this is something I need to know if I'm a developer with Appwrite. Then the data, okay, this should be an object with just a title. And then we got permissions, and this is interesting. So now at this point, I can define my own permissions on this document. And what I want to do is I want to allow, what do I want to do? I first want to use permission from Appwrite. So then we can say create, delete, read. Okay, so read. All users should be able to read, so we're gonna use role from Appwrite. So permission and role from the Appwrite client SDK. Role dot users, I think role dot users. So this is all users can read. Permission dot update will only be granted to myself, and just like that for delete as well, which means I need the user ID at this point. User ID. And where do we get this from? From the authentication context, of course. So let's do this. The authentication context should be accessible as always. There we go. Too many brackets today. Use context, auth context. And then on our authentication user, do we get code completion? No, but this is a user like this, right? So let's see. I messed up the whole file. Can we just comment this out for a second? And this as well. Okay. So this is how a user looks like, and this is the user ID. So we should be able to access it with auth user $ID. And then we say update only allowed for the role user and then the user ID. Nice. Oh, we could even have a status. I guess this could be like status. We'll probably could look this up inside the documentation. I guess this is something like verified. Which did we use? We used create document, in permissions, optional array. Is there any definition for the permissions? Permission read, write, read only, user status. Yeah, verified, unverified can be the status. Okay, cool. That's cool. That means we can even have even more power here. And then we're gonna use delete. So this will be interesting. We're gonna check this out. If it works in the end, it's certainly gonna be interesting. If we catch something, I'm just gonna return null for now. We're gonna see it in the log. So I recommend you add some decent error handling to this. I'm also gonna extend the hook here, so we save a bit of time since we're quite late already. We're gonna do one more function to get a node by ID, which is just get document, again, database ID, nodes collection ID, and then the ID of a document. And I'm gonna remove this, only while on this. Yeah, we can also like simply add the const show alert from use ion alert. Ion alert, not action sheet, come on. In case something goes wrong. So we got this, we got get node by ID. Then we also got two more to update and delete the node. All of this is pretty easy once you understand how to work with Appwrite. So this is just update document and this is delete document. And then adding both to the return statement of our function. We will also implement something about getting real-time data in a second. But for now, let's work on this. So what we need is inside create node, we should be able to actually create a new node. So we'll call this new node equals wait add node. Can you? Oh, that would be so cool if you could automatically add this. Title my new node. I'm not gonna open any kind of input here. So I'm just gonna check if we get a new node, and if we do get a new node at this point, I just want to route the user forward. So using the Ionic router once again, router.push, and then we're gonna go to nodes / and then the ID of the new node, which should be, do I get like code completion here? Oh, nice. There we go. It's always $ID to create a node. Now we just need a button for this, so let's put it into our Ion content. I'm gonna not use this one. I'm gonna use an Ion fab in here at the bottom, and on click this will call create node. Do we got this one? Yes. So this can be removed, and we're gonna go this to the side again, and then I should be able to hit that button here. And it creates a node and actually brings me forward to that URL. Nice. And if I do go back now and hit refresh, oh, this is the auth provider. I just wanted to get my nodes, because I think at this point we should have exactly 2 nodes in our collection. Oh, the collection is growing. I always like that feeling once you really get going with a database and a cloud backend. This is really a good point in time. Just took us an hour, but I just wanted to make everything clear that we did so far, like the authentication and the verification and how everything plays together with Appwrite, and I hope so far you could follow all of this. Again, the reminder, if you just jumped into this part, link to all of the code is also right below the video, including a link to the written version. Great. Okay, now where do we leave? We probably want to implement a list to show the nodes. We actually just need like the title and the text and maybe something else, but that should be pretty easy. Let's put this to the side. That's the hardest part of grabbing this and putting it to the side. And then within the content, I'm just gonna do an ion list. And then we're gonna do nodes.map. Do I get code completion here as well? Sometimes I'm really happy if I implemented the interface and then suddenly I got code completion. I'm like, yay, that was a good idea, Simon. In this case, I don't want to return this. I want to return components. I got way too many brackets. It should be 1 closed, 2 closed. Yeah, just like more like this, right? Yeah, I think it should be fine. Okay, so ion item. Key will be node dot. Oh yeah, we use the interface. Huh. That actually makes life more than I thought. Then we should probably also add ID. Will be optional as well. String. Oh, in fact, this is ID, like this. And now Now I guess someone else will complain that I shouldn't use a $sign before something else. Yeah. Ion label, let's just continue with the good part. Ion label, this should say node.title. We're gonna display the text on the details page. We're not yet there, but this is good. This is good. Nice. We're able to add nodes and we're able to show them. So let's also include now a router link. This is like always the same. If you do router link including something, works pretty much the same everywhere. Nodes / and then you gotta use node ID, and then you will be somehow able to get that information on the next page. I think we should make that ion item a button as well. That usually helps. Right, then I can easily click on them and dive into the details page. And also one more hack. Router direction forward to, okay, the second one is not an ion page, but by doing this we also get the right router animation. I think, are we already done with that page? That was so short. Oh, we do have the real-time functionality as well. Do we want to do it right now or later? I would actually probably also need a second user in that case. So I'm gonna do this already on the side. I can do this. I can code and prepare a second user, no problem. Just create a new account and try to sign in from your incognito window. But what we need anyway is a details page. Details.tsx. As always, I'm too lazy. Actually, I guess I need most of these things anyway. So I'm gonna bring them over as well. Details. Holy moly. Export default details. And then add all missing imports. We're gonna see if we really need that stuff. But I assume we need some of it at least. And then we need an ion app. I don't want to write this. Come on. I want to take this from here. Yes, exactly that part. Oh, and then we should probably also connect this to our routing. Otherwise, it won't work. So everything is added. Details page is mostly green. We're gonna remove this. I'm just gonna call this details for the moment. However, we're navigating nowhere, so we need another private route. So good thing we created that one. I'm gonna call this details with the wildcard ID in here, and then yes, or finally we are able to move into the details page. And on that details page, we now of course want to access the parameter from the URL. I'm also gonna copy the link quickly and see if I can sign in. Yes, I'm signed in with a different account here. And if you notice this, I can add something. I see it in here, but I don't see it in here yet. So do we wanna, I think we should take care of the real-time aspect before we do the details page, because we already see the difference here between the two. So how do we do this? We go back to our data hook, and on the data hook, we're gonna add a new function that I'm gonna call const get nodes real time. I'm not using RxJS or anything in here, so we're gonna pass in a function which will have some kind of data and then void. So we're gonna pass in a function into this like a callback, and then whenever something changes in the database, we're gonna trigger that function, like the poor man RxJS. But anyway, it's enough, it works. And what we can do to achieve this is use client subscribe, so it actually sounds like RxJS, to a specific channel. And let me bring in this channel because I'm otherwise gonna mess up the whatever. And we probably need to add to this callback. What should happen in that case? Nothing for now. So we subscribe to the database.our database ID .collections.our nodes ID collection documents. Pretty straightforward syntax. And you could also skip whatever of this and just subscribe to the whole database or to all collections or anything else. And that makes it really easy. And at that point, we do get back a lock. So let's put this in here. I'm gonna just lock this out. Oh yeah, we should probably call that function from the nodes page, I guess. Get nodes, add node, get nodes real time. And to get the nodes in real time, we do this in here. This now expects a function. So this will be a result. Let's just use the type any for a second. And then in result any. Okay, this is not yet triggered anyways. I'm confused, sorry. Okay, so here is the page. We subscribed. I'm gonna remove the lock from the auth provider because it's freaking me out if there's locked every single time now while we develop our application. Let's go back to the data hook and see. So if my second user is adding something to the database, we get back this. So channel, document, database, events, a ton of events, and the payload. And we now want to pass that information back to our nodes page, and we want to make life a bit easier for the nodes page. So if we want to do this, we can do something like this. We're gonna add new interfaces up here. We're gonna add a little enum if something was added or removed. So we're just gonna take care of add and remove. You can take care of updating yourself and implementing that. And we're gonna export the interface real-time update, which will have the type and the actual data. And with that in place, we can say on the nodes page, instead of getting back any, we're gonna get back a real-time update. Okay. So now within here, what we need to do is we're gonna check if data.events includes delete event. which looks like this: databases, whatever, collections, whatever, delete. We won't be able to see this. We want to see the other case. We want to see the else if case. So if data events includes this string, a create, which looks like this, and we should be able to actually see this here in the event. So events, there it is, database collection documents create. So this is a create on this collection. You could of course also make it directly like there are 20 events, just figure out the one that you're interested in and filter by that. So that is definitely possible in all kinds of ways. In those cases, we're gonna trigger our callback function func, and we're gonna we can say this should be data real-time update, right? Should go in there. So then we're gonna call func. I'm gonna say the type in this case is action.remove. So this is the enum we implemented up there. And the second one was data. We're just gonna set this to data.payload. So this is pretty much just the object. And in the second case, we're gonna do action.add. Which means we've basically implemented our own kind of subscription logic to handle these client updates. So we get access to this in our real-time call. Where is it? On the notes page? Right here in result. Let's try this one more time. So if I do add a note, we do get the events. I don't know why I get them twice right now. Does that make sense? Get notes real time in use ion view will enter. Why do I get them like twice right now? Those are pretty much exactly the same objects. Am I still doing, is this page like twice in there? That's interesting. Okay, now I just get it one. Okay, in result, type add data, and this is really, really clear now. I like it. I could even have used my node interface in there, but that makes it so easy for the actual page to use that result. So if the result.type is equal to action.add, then we're gonna add it to our array. In the other case, we could also have an else if, then we wanna remove it from the array. So in both cases, we can just directly call set nodes. If we want to add it, we're going to add everything that we currently have in nodes plus result.data. In case we don't want this, we're going to first of all filter out the result. So nodes.filter, and for every node, we want to check if node.id is unequal to result.data.id. So we only want those who are, yes, because we removed the item, and then we can just call set nodes with filtered array. Okay, we won't be able to check the deletion right now, although we could probably just delete it from the UI. But let's try this one. Did I actually hit save? I feel like I made a mistake somewhere. Okay, let's do this one more time. Yeah, now it works. New node appears right here. Great, great. But can I pull some node out and see the result? That would be interesting. So I'm gonna check my nodes here. Oh no, oh no. Okay, there we go. Gonna put this here, and I'm gonna remove some kind of document here. You're gonna just have to trust me on this. Ha! Nice. Okay, for whatever reason, I think 2 documents were removed. But I also think like we added probably 2 at the same time. So it's a nice way to clean up my database here. Nodes. Oh, this is only, is it only coming through once my function? That could really be the case. Oh, I need to debug that certainly. All right, apparently the problem was that within our callback, we did update our state, our React state. However, this works very badly if you work in a callback. So what I did instead is I installed the React use state ref package using npm install react use state ref. What this does is that instead of using useState from React, I now use useState from useStateRef. And I added a third parameter, nodesRef, here. And now I can work on nodesRef.current to always get the latest data. That was a nice addition. And if I now remove data from the database, one item gone, more items gone, remove all the items, and just one item left. I don't know what's wrong with you here on the left side. I think he didn't get the updates, but this one is updating correctly. Cool node, my node, cool node, my node. And now everything is in perfect harmony. All right, that was a quick adventure. It was actually a little bit longer than I expected into the real-time aspect. However, that was just my mistake. The general function to subscribe to updates from Appwrite in real time is really, really easy. And I found this to be a lot easier than in other cases to handle real-time updates. So that was a nice and refreshing thing. Now, let's move on to the details page and hurry a bit up. Because we don't want to make this too long, and we've seen, I think, most of the stuff. So we just want to wrap up this page quickly and move on to image upload, because I want to show you that as well. Now, first of all, we're going to update our details page. We're going to add a bunch of things in here. We definitely need to say any here. I don't have any interface for that. And we got match here extracted from the properties. Then we do got get nodes by ID. We do get update node by ID and delete node by ID from our own hook. And we of course also got set node. We copied this from before, so I'm gonna replace this with. You're gonna be unhappy about this. Let's keep it for to any for now. So on enter, we're gonna grab the node and write the node. That's gonna be pretty easy. If we want to update the node, we're going to use our current node text and title. We should add show toast as well from Ionic. And then we do have most of the imports, I think. Then we have delete node, where we should use the router to push back after deleting a node. And then we can actually go into that page, right? So if I open it, it locks already the node. Which means I only need 2 items and a button to delete that. And we're gonna do this page really quickly because it's not adding a lot of new things. So getting all the missing imports. And then we can already see on the right hand side that we do have a title and text in here. We probably wanna have in the starting slot of the toolbar an ion back button so we can actually go back. And then we got the input fields value node.title. That's up here. So test node. And whenever we change this, it will automatically set the state by using set node with all information from node and overwriting, in this case, title, or in this case, text. So it's like just a nice little hack. We don't have a button to actually update this. We're gonna put them in the end slot here. Add the import, and then we should be able to hit save. Okay, it did show a little toast. When we go back here, I don't think it actually did an update. Let's see. Unauthorized. I'm definitely not authorized on that one. Let's see. Okay, now it says saved, and we do have test in here. Am I still allowed to update this? Yes. By the way, it actually does update. I was just going to say not updating because we're not reacting to the update event, but we actually do. However, in the other cases, I think these are actually not my nodes. So you're not allowed to edit this node. So that means our fake user here. I am allowed. Oh, he's also not allowed. That's interesting. I guess I messed up my. I probably created this from the UI. I'm gonna remove this for a second. I think this was probably the one I created from the UI right in the beginning. I'm just gonna remove everything that we got. So fresh start. You can create this text. I'm gonna call this one. Saved, and node is here. And also this user probably can delete it. This user shouldn't be allowed to do anything with it. This user can have a second node, which should be saved. And now this can only be edited by our second user. Likewise, this user can't delete this one, but the user can delete this. And so this user can also delete his own, and we're blank again. So this is permissions from Appwrite in action. I really enjoy these. I'm not sure what went wrong here. Warning, and time to chill with the same key. Yeah, that should definitely not happen. Can we see the permissions actually when we go into something? Yes, here. So this are the permissions that we created when we create an object. Users can read it, and only the user with this ID can update and delete. I really like that we can set the permissions while we create the object. I think this is pretty cool. I don't think I've seen this before, that kind of behavior. So definitely a refreshing touch. And if you're a lot into having permissions and complicated roles in your application, Appwrite could really be very helpful in that regards. Now, I'm gonna extend the data hook because the last thing we now want to do is implement file upload. And I know it's getting late, so we're gonna do this a bit faster since the technology we're using is pretty much the same. The only thing we need is in our Appwrite instance, go to storage, add a bucket. I'm just gonna call this files. And within files, I'm gonna add the permissions so users can create and read them. I'm not really interested in update and delete anyway. And we are interested in that bucket ID though. So we're gonna directly put this up here, const bucket ID, my bucket ID. I'll probably spell this correctly. So now we need a few more functions. Function number one, I'm just gonna add these below here, is to upload an image. And this is actually impressively easy. So we can import the storage package, and on that storage package we got client, create file, delete, get, file download, preview, just a handful of functions that we can use. So storage also comes from the cool config that we created before. We already used account, we used databases, now storage and avatars in a second as well. And then we just call create file, our bucket ID. The second parameter is actually the file ID, so I'm just going to use the user ID as the file name. Then passing in the file and then an array of permissions. We could even listen to on progress. That's cool. So you could, I'm leaving this out for the reader or watcher to have a upload progress bar. Anyway, read. I'm actually setting this directly to the user ID. It doesn't matter. You can also just set it to users, however you want to structure your application. Then two more functions to check if the user has an avatar by getting the file from the bucket and using the user ID again because I saved it under that name. And then also getting it by calling get file preview. So this gives us a nice preview, and I really like that you can actually put in a width and a height, quality, and even more to get file preview. So there's a lot more you could do with that function. And speaking of things you can do more, the avatars is really interesting. Let's check out the documentation. So I didn't know, is this an API for avatars? No, it actually is a service that aims to complete everyday tasks related to your app. Image, icons, and avatars. You can get credit card icon, browser icon, country. I don't know who defined exactly what we can do with avatars. But it's quite funny, and I'm like, not everyone's gonna need this, But if you're in need of this, it's actually quite handy to have this as an endpoint who can just deliver some arbitrary things like get user initials. This is pretty cool. I've used this before. So we're going to do this in here as well. Now adding all the functions in here. Upload has get user, real time, we got that, and get initials. And then we are already prepared so far. What we're going to do now is we're going to actually create, well, it's kind of a page. So we're going to call this profile.tsx. But it's going to be pretty much like a blank component. I'm going to call this profile. Close it, export default profile. There we go. Okay, profile. Yeah, you're not happy about something clearly. However, yeah, the return function, right? Okay, now I can already add the profile to my notes page. And I'm gonna do this as a little modal. That's gonna be funny and quite easy to implement. So let's add to our notes page another button here. Ion buttons slot start. Ion button, and we're gonna just add an ID here. We're gonna call this open modal, and we're gonna connect that ID to our profile. I'm just gonna put the profile in here, profile like this, with a trigger, and call this open modal. Now this won't magically work, but we're gonna have to define inside the profile that it actually is like a modal page. So in order to do this, we're gonna have to add a little interface to our profile page with the trigger, and then say that this functional component has the profile page props, and it will receive a trigger. And now I'm gonna wrap my whole view here into an Ion modal, and on that modal I'm gonna set we need to set a reference as well, but we most importantly need a trigger, and this is now our trigger that is passed from the outside. So kind of from the outside, that button is connected to that modal inside the profile page. We could have all of this code. So imagine we could also have it like this, and then the trigger would be open modal here. So then with a button click, we're pretty much triggering the modal. But we want to do it like this, so then we can have everything on the profile page related to image upload. I think that makes life a tiny bit easier at this point. Just gonna wrap this up for the button. We just need something in here. Let's use the person circle outline, and on the profile page, we wanted to set the reference. We're gonna do this from React with useRef. So then we have a reference to the modal. Okay, and voila. It's the most boring modal I've ever seen. Anyway, we're gonna put in everything that we need. So for the header area, what we're gonna input is everything that we need. But especially here on click, we're now calling modal.currentDismiss. So that was the only reason to keep a reference to the modal, because then we can actually also close it. So open and close. Anyway, this is just Ionic fun and Ionic React stuff. However, we want to talk about setting the setting an image or uploading a file. That was what we wanted to do, right? So let's put up an Ion content. We're gonna use class name, a bit of padding here anyway. Ion padding and Ion text center to center everything. And we're gonna use a div with a style display block. So what we want to display here in our div element is we want to first check if we do have an avatar image. For that, we certainly need useState once again. I think we can stick to the regular React useState, and also to the initials. And we're gonna try once again using Ion view will enter. I really like to use these with Ionic, just feels better than using useEffect usually. We're gonna just try and grab the user avatar. So let's say const file equals, now we should add this from our user, from use data. And we probably also need the authenticated user at some point. We're gonna get await has user avatar. If that's not the case, we're gonna catch that. We're gonna lock that out here. And most likely we should get an error right now because we haven't uploaded a file, and we see we do get that. The requested file could not be found. So you usually get a 404 because it's trying to access the storage bucket and you don't have that file. However, if we do have a file, at that point, what we want to do is we want to download that file. So I want to grab this using get user avatar, like this. That should give us the image. And then we're gonna move on from there at some point. However, in the beginning, we don't have this. So what we're gonna do instead is we also gonna grab the initials. Again, this is like the optional thing, initials, await get initials, which makes a call to the avatar API. Yes, I got a little naming problem. I could have called this get user profile image probably. That would have been more fitting. And then I'm gonna call set initials. So we need another little state here. Oh, we got that, set initials. Gonna put a little lookout and set initials, and we're gonna see what happens. So my initials, is this my initials? Use ion, you will enter host local, await get initials. Like, where are my initials actually in there? I think the, oh yeah, the initials are actually here behind that call. But why? What are we doing? We call get initials, get user initials. Use the show your user initials avatar icon on your, by default will try to print your logged in username or email. Like, yeah, well, but why are you not doing this? Am I calling something wrong? Get user initials from use data. What the? This is my initials? This is interesting. These are really my, yeah, these are my initials. But shouldn't it return immediately the image? I feel like it should do. So I'm gonna set this to initials.href because I feel this could, am I not doing the actual call? But I did await the result, didn't I? Yeah, this is certainly a result from the API. This is very strange. Oh, it just returns a URL. Okay. So what if I call, okay. Interesting. So what does the documentation say about this? Show your user initial, you can use, what do we call? Get initials, and then they result is a resource URL. Okay. That's interesting. So we're gonna use, let's try and use the href here. But we need to display this somewhere on our page. So in our block here, we're gonna check if we do have an avatar. We certainly want to display that avatar somehow. Otherwise, we're gonna display an Ion button. Can I just close this, or do I have to do this? Can we just leave it at this? Why are you not happy about this? Come on. So let's just do div style display block for the avatar as well, and call image source initials, right? This is going to be interesting. I have no idea if this works. Is the block already finished? I think so. No, apparently the block is not yet finished. Now it's finished. Okay, let's see. Nice. That's interesting. I didn't expect this. For debugging, I also in my testing added a little label here So then we got the auth user, email, and ID just to check which user is signed in. But anyway, it can be helpful if you need that information. This user seems to not have that. Yeah, now we got an I and we got an S. Okay, this is the initials API, which returns this cool little image. Let's say alt initials. So now we need to display and upload our avatar. In the else case, if we don't have an avatar, we're gonna add a little button in here. So an ion button. Oh, I feel like you don't like that yet. But why? Why exactly? What are you mad about at this point? Like, ion button can be imported. We actually do have an ion button. I feel like you're not happy about this, right? Yeah, now you're happy. Cool. So on click here, we're gonna take a picture. And this is pretty easy with Capacitor if you've done this before. The only thing you need to do to take a picture is use the Capacitor camera plugin. We installed this about 2 hours ago, which seems so long ago. So Capacitor camera, here we go. If you want to use it on a real device, make sure you include for iOS and Android the right permissions. We installed both the Capacitor camera and also the PWA elements, but for this one we actually never edited our index TSX, so we should maybe do this now. So this is just required import define custom elements, and then you grab this line and put it somewhere here, and then you get a cool little camera overlay once you trigger the Capacitor camera here. So I'm gonna put a little image lock in there, and then we should actually already be able to, let's see, select an avatar image. Okay, I'm gonna just use with this, and it locks out something. Now, what I did is I used for the Capacitor camera plugin these settings, which mean I do get back only the selection of photos. I could also use camera or prompt the user, but on a PC I just wanted to do it like this. Probably gonna put in a prompt. In my testing, it once worked that it selected a different camera and did not mess up my recording. So yeah, why not? We're gonna probably try this out. Okay. On top of that, I'm gonna now check. Okay, we should probably, after take picture, we should upload it. Let's see. We get back a base64 string. What if we say data URL? What will happen in that case? I'm really interested because I think let's still do it like this. Yeah, this is a data image. This is actually pretty good. So let's try the data URL, and then we're gonna call set avatar from our data hook, which oh, it expects a file, right? Or oh well, yeah. To upload that, we certainly need a base64. Yeah, to upload we need a real file. We can definitely set our local avatar if we wanted to image.base64. No, image.data URL. Image.data URL, and then we can even already display the avatar down here, right? So we should have the avatar source. Set to avatar, and I'm just gonna call this as well. On click, you will still be able, on click of this image, alt avatar, and then I should be able to get this. I feel like, yeah, I need to close that. Let's see, select from photos. It sets it, nice. Do we need anything else like the width or height? Don't think so. Actually pretty good. But of course it is not yet uploaded, so this is still missing. And to do this, reminder, we need a file. We need a real file, a blob-like file to upload. And for this I found a little helper function called data URL to file, which pretty much fetches the data, converts it to a blob, and then creates a new file. If you're uploading something else like an image, of course, the type would be different, but this is how you could do it. And once you do it, you can just, after you get the image, grab a file And in fact, the only thing we need right now is image.data URL. And I'm gonna use the auth user ID.jpg just as an example. So then we should have a file object, and we're gonna call await upload image with that file. And I'm really excited to see if this works now. So we get an image from photos. I'm not messing up anything right now. We set this locally. Okay, this is for sure working. This is the file information, and now let's see if we can confirm that this was uploaded to our Appwrite. Where would it show up? Okay, of course, under storage, files. Yes, there it is. Nice. Oh, I love it. I love it. These backends just help so much in, like, I don't need to, I've written the Nest.js code to accept client files and use Multer and file upload and put them into a folder, but I don't want to. I just want to upload that file here. And Capacitor makes it so easy to capture that image, and Appwrite makes it so easy to accept that image and store it. Like, this is how things should work these days. It's not that Appwrite is the only solution. I also looked at Firebase in the past and Supabase, but all of these backends just offered tons of functionality out of the box that usually takes hours sometimes to implement stuff like that. And you even got this cool interface where I can now remove that or something. Okay, final test. Let's do a refresh. And my avatar is not yet there. So this is a problem. Are we actually loading this? Yes, we do. So I do get the file back. I do get the image. That means the only thing I need to do at this point should be, if I have an image, I'm gonna say, okay, set avatar with image dot something, image dot href, probably. Please show my image. Oh, nice, it works. I can also change this from photos. I'm gonna use this one. It immediately, yeah, that's interesting. We're locally updating the image. However, if I go back to it, it will still show the old one. And I initially thought, oh no, it's not updating my file. But the thing is, if you look into your bucket, you're gonna see that it's really the old file. Probably still, but I thought something else, and that was that this image is usually cached. And to prevent that, or like to during debugging fake this, I used the image ref and included the current date as a timestamp, as a param here. And then it usually shows you the latest image. However, yes, now it works. So now I can also go to photos and select that one again. You know, it replaces immediately. This is done locally. But even if I update, it's now immediately here. This was my little something on the cherry on the cake during debugging. I just wanted to share this with you in case you encountered some kind of caching issues. Anyway, I think we pretty much did it. So if I rec up the recording, it's no problem right now. Okay, it's nicely taking the sidecam. Where's the sidecam? There. Okay, I should put my image there. Okay, great. I use that image. And with that perfect image, I think we're done. All of this is protected inside area. All of the information is here, although I think now it's even like cached here in my storage. So I don't know exactly how we can update this, but if I download this, the funny thing is, this is actually my image. So only the preview in here is off, but it's in fact the real image. And we got all the authentication in place, we got the storage, we got our database. We haven't touched functions, but probably we're gonna do this next time. So hopefully you could follow along and you can find the code, as always, link below the video. All right, and that's it for today. I really hope you enjoyed seeing Appwrite in action. I think the first time I saw Appwrite was when Brandon Roberts was on the Syntax podcast, or probably even before. I did a little comparison with nhost and Supabase as alternatives to this big, massive Firebase. Now, Appwrite takes certainly a different approach in that it is really this self-host aspect is very, very strong, and it is super easy. We can do this with Docker, we can do it with one-click installations, and it's just really, really easy. Also, the whole UI you get for free out of the box to configure your roles and permissions, your users, your database. All of this is pretty enticing if you want to run your own backend and just have more control and need to really implement a lot of permissions and security features. So I highly recommend you check it out, appwrite.io, give it a try. I will certainly think this is not the last video we're gonna see about Appwrite on this channel, because I really enjoyed working with it and also with the SDK that we could use with TypeScript. Again, if you want to see all the code, links to the written version and the GitHub repository right below the video, and I hope you of course hit the like button and stay subscribed for more videos coming in the future. I've been Simon, and as always, I hope you have a great week with successful Appwrite applications, and I will catch you in the next video. So until then, happy coding, Simon.